Hi, I'm Sean Drasher. I'm the Director of Elections and Voter Registration for Lebanon County. Voter registration. Let's see. Well, that's something that not a lot of people cared about until very recently. It's database management and keeping track of who's living where and where they need to vote. And nobody really cared about that a whole lot. But nowadays, that's in the news a lot. And it probably should be. Voter database management is not a terribly exciting part of the job, but it is an essential part of the job. And that's what you hear people talking about with the dead people off the books. How do I know that my dad is voting in the right location? How do I know I'm voting in the right location? Well, we have a whole team of people that is all they do all day year round is sit and just maintain that database, updating people every morning with the obituaries and the certificates of death from the Department of Health. It is a full-time job. Now, it's not all morbid. It's you're doing things like marriage and name changes and kids that are turning 18, and it is an essential part of the job. So that is the voter registration side. Now, the election side is what you see all over in the news. The election side is all-consuming for us a lot of the year. So what we do is twice a year, the equivalent of throwing a prom or a wedding for 100,000 people. So that is, as you can imagine, it's a big part of the job. So we have in Lebanon County right now, we have 60 locations where you can go to vote, and you must go to the correct location, which comes back to the voter registration side. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to put all that together. Getting into the bureaucracy side of it and running running things in the office, it's been such an eye-opener because you don't know anything about the big picture stuff until you start working in the polls. But then you start working in the polls and you think you know a little nugget of it, but then you get into the office and you're like, wow, there's the checks and balances and the layers upon layers upon layers of reporting that we do behind the scenes to make sure that everything is accurately reporting. It's mind-blowing. It's a very complicated system. It's hard to understand all at once, but it really made me feel a lot better about how we do things. So a good place to start with all this is that elections aren't run from Washington, D.C., or they're not run from another state. In fact, in Pennsylvania, they're not even run from Harrisburg, where a lot of people would think they're run. They're run right here in Lebanon County. We decide everything. We pick out our own equipment. We program all our own equipment. We create the ballots ourselves. We count everything ourselves. It's all right here in Lebanon County. It's all not just in Lebanon County. It's people in your neighborhood. When you go to the polls, everyone you see working there is all from your neighborhood. So to see people working there from your neighborhood year in, year out, making a difference, counting those votes, knowing that the people that are making the decisions around elections, whether it's the county commissioners who are on the board of election or myself or the people who work in our office, we're all people that are your neighbors and are doing this. It's not somebody from another state. And I think that's important to know that it's all happening right here locally. When you see stuff on social media about, well, what about this and what about that? Well, you can find out. You can talk to us. We're all right here. And there aren't things that are happening in California or Minnesota or in Florida that are affecting anything here in Lebanon County. We are doing everything right here. Is it perfect? We're always improving, but my gosh, it is really well thought out. And the fact that it's locally run and that we really have an impact on how things go make me feel so much better about everything. What we're doing now is we're tweaking things to make them better. We're not fixing broken systems. And I am so proud to be a part of that. Now, here's the thing though, like we all can be a part of it. Because it's 100,000 people voting in this county, and because we have to do this twice a year, every year, it takes hundreds and hundreds of people to pull that off. In any average election, it's well over 500 people just in the polling places. Probably 50 of those are going to be students, or maybe even more, 500 total at least. And then on top of that, we have probably another 100 people that are working to pull it all together behind the scenes. And we could use your help. Why do we do what we do? When we moved to Lebanon County now, a little less than 2 decades ago, I wanted to get involved. Like I wanted to change into something more service oriented. And part of that was I ran for a local office, and it was just a poll worker position. And I'm not saying just like it's a bad thing. I mean, that's an entry level for a lot of people, and it was for me as well. I loved it. I just find the politics of everything just so interesting. And that was before social media was everywhere and everybody seemed to be into it. The election side, I wanted to know how things were working. I wanted to know that there was integrity in the elections. I wanted to understand how the votes were counted. I wanted to understand what the equipment was. So I ran for that entry-level position, and I won with one vote. And it was a tie with a whole bunch of other people in my neighborhood. And I went to the tiebreaker meeting at the courthouse where we draw marbles out, and I took my kids with me. And my daughter was about 3 at the time, and she dressed up in a little dress and brought her little purse. And she drew the low number. She drew a number 1 out for me, so that was the low number, and that's how I got my first job in politics. Now I'm the director. So, I mean, there is a career path for this if it's something you're interested in. But I got into it because I wanted to know that there was integrity in the system, and it was just so mysterious to me before I started working in the polling places. And the first time I showed up, I remember I couldn't sleep the night before. And then I showed up that day, and it was mostly retirees working, and still is, by the way, working in the polling place. But everyone was so friendly, and they were from different parties, but everyone had the same goal that day, making sure the election ran smoothly and was accurately reported. And I fell in love with it. It was so fascinating to see how the machines work, how the paper ballots are, the system work, how we sign people in. And I did that for a long time before eventually applying for the director job. And I was for the same reason. Like, I just wanted to make a bigger impact, and I believed in the integrity of the system. It's just fascinating. My name is Drasher, and I am Lebanon, PA.